Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Imperial Scholars Podcast. My name is Mitch, my co-host is Cabs, and in today's episode, we cover part 2 of the War of Vengeance. And this is going to be a more interesting episode because it's not going to be so much covering events this time. We're more so going to be covering sort of character development and how that kind of alters this war and this conflict. I haven't really notified you at all, Cabs, but yeah, this is what you can be expecting, is that there's going to be a lot more character development this episode, because on the last one, we covered a lot of tragedy, if you might recall. A lot of people died. And so now we're kind of on to where does that lead us? Are you prepared for this, sir?
I'm prepared for a good episode. I'm ready. The ending of the last podcast is pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, you remember last time, right? It was like Snorri died, and we led from there. Like, see where the war leads us from there.
Yeah, I'm fucking hype. Let's go.
All right. So, immediately after Snorri's death, it should be noted that the High King, that dude that we mentioned, Gotrek Starbreaker of the dwarves, he doesn't take the reins of the fight, and he isolates himself and goes into like a year of mourning. He just locks himself away in his vault. No one sees him. He dyes his beard with black beads of mourning, and then just no one sees him for the rest of most of that fight. To be honest, most of the war, he's just isolated.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't. Morgrim takes the reins of the battle. Remember Millhouse? That guy mentioned Millhouse last time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now this dude is taking the reins of the fight, and he becomes a lot more sturdy all of a sudden. He goes full like Punisher mode with this.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. He like pierces up his body, and he looks like a Viking badass. He looks like a berserker now.
Yo, that's kind of sick.
Yeah, his personality, like he takes his mourning to a different degree, and he just goes for like vengeance, right?
Millhouse, he said his name was, right?
No, not Millhouse isn't his name.
Yeah, Millhouse.
No. Let's stop this now. Damn it. Anyways, so that's what's going on there, is now he is leading this.
You know, I was picturing like jacked up Simpson Millhouse, like
yeah, like roided up Millhouse.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, go on. So our boy is leading
Millhouse.
This charge.
Yeah. But I actually have to cut away from the actual battle, because immediately after the death of Snorri, most of the Elven lords like Imladric and the Phoenix King, they came to the Old World. They leave immediately afterwards. They go back to Ulthuan.
Oh, what?
Yeah, for some reason it's like, all right, well, we killed Snorri, and we mutilated his corpse, and I'm going home. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And they leave the battle to like the people on there, right? They're like, you guys got this. Like the actual people who live in the settlements of the Old World. It's like, you can deal with it. You can basically genocide an entire race of people who have existed here since literally the dawn of time. You got it. They don't like got
any reason for the retreat, or
because they're arrogant assholes. That's why.
Oh, so they were just like, they just probably assumed that Snorri was like the strongest warrior, and they're like, yeah, this will be a cakewalk now.
That exactly is what it is. Yes, is the Phoenix King is such a, like I said, this Phoenix King is such a douchebag, man. All right, you don't understand. That's how arrogant he is. He's like, you guys got it. It's fine. I'm going home now. He doesn't have anything pressing to deal with either, mind you. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, that literally is his reason. He's like, oh, it stinks of mud here. Oh, the air is so crisp. I must go home.
That's pretty funny.
So anyway, so he goes home, and we're going to cut and introduce a new character here at this point. This is a character by the name of, hang on a second, Caradryel?
Oh, dude, that's a tongue twister.
Oh, dude, elven names.
Try one more time.
Caradryel. Caradryel. That's what we're
do with syllables. You do with syllables.
Caradryl. Caradryel. Kakarot.
Kakarot. That's our boy.
Yeah, so Kakarot here, our good boy Kakarot.
Okay.
So Mr. Kakarot, we cut to him basically being amongst the ocean on open waves with a handful of dudes of Lothern, like other high elf guys, and they're attacked by a random Druki raiding party. And the Druki actually like look like they're about to basically mount the boat and basically take these guys captives. It's like, shit. But immediately afterwards, that dude Imladric, remember Mr. Imladric, the brother of the Phoenix King, who was actually kind of chill?
Yeah, the homie.
Yeah, the homie guy, yeah. So he actually comes in on his dragon and just saves that dude, and then just like, well done, I take my leave now, yeet, and just flies away. So he's actually back in on the Ulthuan, like Imladric. And Caradryel remembers this as like, oh, this is Imladric, this is the brother of the Phoenix King, and this just like, he has an All Might moment, being like, my idol.
Yeah.
The best way I can describe it. So he's back on the island of Ulthuan, and he goes to see his family. He goes to see his wife and child, actually. And there's this whole cheesy ass scene where he goes to his wife, and she didn't know he was back from the Ulthuan, and he arrives from his dragon, and blah blah blah. They spend the night and embrace each other, and And they're actually discussing kind of being amongst the dwarves, because his wife is never seen the dwarfs, and he kind of looks at it and goes like, we always refer to them as stunted, the stunted folk, as though they're missing something. But Imladric says, imagine if the earth itself were personified as a living being, sturdy and stubborn as steel and iron. So he has a pretty high impression, actually, of the dwarves. I mean, we already knew this, but it's not falsehood is my point. He doesn't like play politics or anything. He actually has a high impression of the dwarves. And not long after this, he goes to visit his brother, the Phoenix King, King Douchebag himself, and he goes to see him, and his brother is just going like, yes, very soon the war will be over. I must address the people and let them know what is going forth. And so he goes out onto the podium, and the Phoenix King is just getting cheered on by all of these random elves being like, oh man, like, our Lord and High King, blah, blah, blah. And he goes out and addresses them with a speech. And I'm just trying to find it real quick, because basically he comes out and says, here's it. I found the speech. And he replies to them, but I need not tell you this. You know the truth of it. I come here this day to tell of victory in the east. We have triumphed. We have triumphed over the mountain folk. The stunted creatures of Elfin Arvan are defeated. And I myself, Calador II, slew the son of their high king in single combat. At which point he's brought the hand of Snorri Halfhand, and he goes, they call him Half-Hand. No longer. I call him No Hand. And all of the elven citizens start like snickering amongst, and he goes and basically says, so much for the war of beards. And the stunted ones dare to challenge their betters and thus have been bloodied. They will think twice before assaulting our colonies again. Should they now sue for peace and come before me on their knees, we shall be magnanimous. But if they dare to raise up against us again, we shall visit vengeance upon them 1,000-fold. We shall root them out of their holes and drag them into the sunlight, Calador promised, warning to his theme. We shall burn their mines and flood their holds. We shall seize their goods and make prisoners of their wives. Though what use one might have for such creatures, I have little idea. More laughter, crude this time. So I tell you, rejoice in the valor of our legions, in the strength of our fleets, in the matchless spellcraft of our mages. No force of the world can stand against us. First will the Dowie fall, then the Druki, just as any power must fall, and sets itself against the chosen ones, the children of Anarion. The cheering was thunderous. From henceforth this day, we shall be known as the Day of the Severing. It shall mark our crushing of the Dowie in their own domains until the sun sets Until the sun sets, do no work. Drink wine, feast well, revel in your leisure. You have labored hard in the years since my father's death. Now take your ease and bask in the glory of his son's accomplishments. Oh my God, it just keeps going. I told you that a new dawn has broken over Ulthuan. It signs on the reign of Calador II. He goes on for literally 5 pages kissing his own ass to his own people. I love it. Oh, it's disgusting.
No, it's great.
Oh my God, I hate this guy. And immediately afterwards,
character.
Yeah, fuck, you wonder why? And immediately afterwards, he goes and has an audience with his brother, Imladric, to which he says, "Ah, yes, brother, my dear loving brother, I wish for you to return to the Isles and lead in the war against the Mud Dwellers to make quick work of them." To which point Imladric goes I don't want to. I want to stay here with my family, you narcissistic prick. And there is a standoff between younger brother and older brother where it's you do not address your brother, you address the king. And may I remind you the consequences of standing against the king. And it's then maybe eventually Imladric is fine. He's basically threatening me and my family, my own brother. Fine. I'll go back there. Whatever. So
he kind of doesn't have a choice, right?
No, exactly. He's literally not given a choice by the Phoenix King. It is basically the mafioso being would be the same if something would have happened to your family, Mr. Imladric.
Yo, what a dick.
He's such a douchebag.
Yeah.
This is that's anyways. So, but Imladric goes to speak with his wife, and this is a little campy because basically there's been some sexual tension between Imladric and another character back in the colonies, character by the name of Leandra, and his wife literally screams at him. It's you're just going back there because she's there. And I'm I don't have time for this soap opera drama right now. I need, there's a war going on. Let's get back to the war. But this character, Leandra, is actually pretty important. She's a pretty significant character in the narrative because she's a fellow dragon rider herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And acts as one of the lead generals of the war. But before they go off, Imladric takes his son up to the Dragon Mountains. Because this whole time, Imladric has basically been trying to pass down the dragon taming of his lineage, right? Because he's of the Caledorians, right? They've always been about... It's basically... Avatar, the dragon taming thing?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that. That's basically their shtick. It's you have your selected dragon that is your dragon that you fuse with. That chooses you. But the whole time, Imladric has been bringing his son up. His son's character by the name of Thoriel. Yeah, Thoriel. Thoriel has been going up there to try and find his dragon, but he keeps being rejected. None of the dragons are selecting him. And Imladric is getting really concerned. What if this is the end of the dragon taming lineage? What if I can't pass this gift on to you?
Mm-hmm.
So, but... Basically, they go up there, they try to tame the dragon, Thuriel rage quits, and he just gets out of Dodge. I think he goes to another town, and he basically goes to this secret, pleasure dome. It's basically an opium den.
Secret pleasure dome.
Yeah, it's a little, backroom place that acts as, this opioid, den kind of deal. And, he's speaking with one of the women working there, and she goes, "Oh, there's a gentleman over in the booth over. I think you'd make really good acquaintances with. I think he might be able to help you." Because Thuriel's basically griping that he doesn't have enough adventure in his life, and he's selected to be the heir of this great household. To be fair, I actually read this character, and he's actually pretty... He's a pretty sympathetic character, to be honest, because he is getting pushed into this, this is your legacy, this is your lineage, this is what you must do, right? but he just wants to be a contributing part of Ulthuan. He doesn't even feel that he has that going for him. So he kind of just gives himself into, these opioids and, so goes and talks to this guy, but we're going to cut there and just cut back to Imladric going back to the colonies and leading the front lines and all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that Imladric goes back to the colonies, and remember I said there was that dude that he saved earlier who was like on the boat?
Mm-hmm.
So he actually gave that dude earlier on the boat, Kakarot, he gave himself over to being like a servant of to Imladric. He basically was like, I have the gift of diplomacy. I'm not a gifted general, but I have a silver tongue. And so the thing is that this whole time that the dwarves have been just brooding and just really angry about the death of Snorri Whitebeard, Morgrim has just been assembling like larger and larger force to just like basically just plow over the elves at some point, right? But Imladric is like, okay, hang on. I hear that my old friend Morgrim has been leading the battle thus far. Maybe I can still communicate with him. So he actually sends this dude, Kakarot, to go and try and communicate with the dwarves and try to seek an audience with Morgrim. And he actually does manage to get Morgrim's attention for a second because he's told to memorize a small amount of like dwarvish Khazalid that will get him an audience and being like, oh, I'm here for Prince Imladric, and being like, oh, Imladric, I recognize that name. So they get this audience going, and he tells him like, okay, let's try to talk things out before anything else and try to get a peaceful resolution here, right? I don't want an all-out war. You don't want an all-out war. Let's try to just, unify. So Morgrim actually goes and has an audience with Imladric. And they do a little just like small talk banter with each other, and Imladric brings back the hands of Snorri Whitebeard, saying like, these never should have been taken from you and your kin. This belongs with the dead prince where it belongs. So they're actually like, peace is looking like an option. You know it doesn't go that way, but peace is looking like an option at this point, right? And this is actually where Imladric just says, finally, I have to tell these guys. And he tells them about the Druki. Because remind you, it's like they didn't want them to know about that at the time. The problem, though, is that he doesn't have any actual proof for Morgrim. So he's like, okay, well, I need to find a way to get proof. And meanwhile, at this time, some of the Dark Elves have actually taken a black dragon and have started raising random elf and dwarf settlements. They've just been lighting them on fire. Because it just feeds them, right? Like, it's like whatever feeds our cause. But that character, the mistress of Imladric, Leandra, she actually finds the Druki and kills the dragon and is taking in the witch as a POW to prove, right, like what's going on. It's like the Druki are in your lands. They're here behind this. But she doesn't actually manage to get back to them in time. And so Morgrim is just looking at this going like, yes, you tried to convince me, but you're all full of lies. I know the truth. You've been destroying our settlements while our backs are turned. This is more Ilgi deception taking place.
Yeah.
And Imladric's like, no, you don't understand. I don't want this. And Morgrim just goes, you might not want this, but I do. And so Morgrim leads the charge. He goes, all right, guys, start taking this place. But they're fighting against this huge settlement at the time, right? Like this enormous place that's just they're not gaining any foothold here. They're not gaining ground. And while the siege is taking place, remember how I said Imladric's son went to an opioid den? So he wakes up the next morning a few days later, and he doesn't actually know where he is at the time. His head is spinning, And it turns out he's actually been taken into service by like a random shipmaster. And they're going to the colonies.
Mm-hmm.
Which is no bueno, not a good thing, especially because Imladric is in the colonies right now, right?
Yeah, my boy's there.
My boy's there on the front lines. Yeah, he's flying his dragon.
He's ready. Yeah, he's ready.
Oh, yeah.
He's got his big boy. He's ready.
But here's the thing is that Imladric, he fights off against the dwarfs and he holds them back, but he's actually giving the command, like, do not cause too much bloodshed. I don't want this to be a slaughter. I just want to hold them at bay until they retreat, right?
So he's like he's pulling back his punches a little bit, you know?
He's pulling back a bit, and because he doesn't want there to be a complete devastation. But the issue is when Imladric is on his dragon, fighting off the forces, leading the charge, blah, blah, blah. And he looks over on the barracks at some archers, and amongst them is his son. Oh. And he goes, what the hell are you, like, what the hell is happening? Why is he here?
Yeah, why is his son there?
Well, remember what so the thing was, like I said, that he was taken into the service of that deck master, right? Yeah. So they're back in the colonies, and he's been put into they were like going out there as like, yeah, we're just going out there, but there's probably not going to be an actual battle. Meanwhile, that's exactly when the dwarves decided to attack.
Yeah, so just bad timing.
Just bad timing. And that is when, so the thing is that because he's flying his dragon, he's got like this psychic link to his dragon that like whatever he feels, the dragon feels. And at that point, they both just feel like endless rage and just bloodthirsty savagery to take out the dwarves. And all the other dragons act with them. So remember, like I said, like all the punches are being held back. That goes out the window.
Yeah, well, I assume so.
Yeah. And Morgrim looks over all this and is just like, my God, this devastation. Like, these dragons are savagery made manifest, because he just sees every dwarf just getting slaughtered and burned, right? He just sees just fields of dwarfs just getting eviscerated into ash and just torn to shreds.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's pretty violent stuff. And he sounds the retreat at this point. But one key thing I didn't mention was that Morgrim has this axe that was given to him by a runesmith by the name of Morik. And the axe actually starts to glow once the dragons appear.
Ooh, so, is this some special like dragon slaying axe?
Listen, we all right, you get one Zechian foresight per episode. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm allowing. You don't get any more.
Oh, okay, dude, come on. That's not even foresight.
No,
what is this, Lord of the Rings, like Frodo's blade, bro? Like it glows when the orcs are there. Like, come on, man.
Pretty much, like, yeah. This is Sting, but for dragons.
That's the most like cliche thing, you know, like calling me like I'm some genius, like.
Well, okay, to be fair, it actually doesn't kick in the way you would think. We'll find out in a bit here. I'll explain in a bit what happens.
Okay.
Yeah. But he sees all this taking place, and he sounds the retreat. The axe is glowing, and at that point, the dwarves get out of dodge, and Imladric lands, and he finally comes back to his senses from that like berserker-esque rage, and he just looks around and sees like he's just covered in viscera, right? And he's kind of like, uh-oh, what have I done? Actions have been taken or been done that can't be taken back now. And remember Imladric's son, so he was actually wounded during the fight. And he was making some good friends amongst the deckhands, actually. Like I said, he didn't feel like he had a place in Ulthuan, right?
Yeah.
He was actually making like good friends and comrades while he was on the boat and while he was like training to become a soldier. But once he goes and once he's wounded, he goes to see all of his comrades at this point, and they're all giving him the cold shoulder. And he's like, okay, what's up, guys? Like, what is happening? And it's like, well, you didn't tell us that you're the son of the Phoenix King's brother. You're a highborn lord. Like, we don't have anything in common anymore, dude. Like they basically
that
see
makes
him as like
sense.
a spoiled rich brat, right?
Mhm.
And he just gets shunned. He just gets like, you're not welcome here anymore. Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks, guys. This is why I said I can actually empathize with this character. Like he wants to just be there and just be helpful, but everyone keeps rejecting him.
Aw.
It's a sad dude. I never thought I'd be empathizing with the Phoenix King's nephew. But, you know, here we are. Especially this Phoenix King. Anyways, but Morgrim is talking amongst his noble lords and just looking at, like, he's got all these wounded dwarves around them, and they're just, like, camping in the woods, just trying to get their forces back together after that devastation. And he goes, like, okay, they have numerous dragons, and we can't fight them. Like, this many, like, we can maybe fight a dragon with a whole army, but, like, you know, 20 dragons, even with the entire Karaz and Core behind us, there's nothing we can do against this. This is too much. So his plan now basically is to do like skirmish, like, you know, he's like, they can't defend everywhere all at once. So we'll just take the minor settlements that we can.
Yeah, a little guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like if we can fight one dragon, then okay, we're doing okay. Maybe even two. So we'll just try doing that tactic, right? Advance quite a ways further in the narrative, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff's happening. Imladric goes to talk to his son, and his son is just like left in this big settlement just to heal up and get his wounds recovered, right? And Imladric is none too impressed with him. He's like, what the hell are you doing here? You're my legacy. You have bigger responsibilities than being a freaking random archer on the front lines. To which his son basically says, like, why do you place more value on me than many people who just got killed in that battle, Dad? It's like, we'll talk about this later. Like I said, he's a weirdly sympathetic character. Anyways. Yeah. So, anyways, flash forward quite a bit. And the dwarves are attacking this. So, the dwarves go on and they attack this other settlement that Imladric has been, like founded, right? And that character Leandra, the dragon rider, is there, but she no longer has her dragon. Her dragon actually died in quite a few pages earlier. I gotta be honest, I don't like this character, like Leandra. Okay. I found her very annoying because she's just angry, like all the time about the most minute things, and it's partially because she has a lot of PTSD, but I don't know, man, it was just not fun to read about her. But anyway, she's a big mage, and she's been hunting the Druki, trying to prove all this stuff, and so eventually the dwarves go and attack this place that she's in, this big elven tower or settlement, and they just swarm over it, right? Very quickly, it looks like they're going to lose everything, that everything's going to be razed to the ground. They're using their iron breakers. So they got C4s and stuff. They're just raising buildings and all this. At the front of it is good old Morgrim being his stern and, you know, mean self that he's very quickly turned into. He now like hates the elves as much as anyone else, actually. So, but anyway, so he's doing his thing, and they very quickly overrun the place, and right at that moment, Imladric actually arrives where Morgrim is attacking, and he goes down with his dragon to try and defend all of the citizens that are there, right? Just to try to get a few stragglers out of the city while they still can. But that was a mistake because his dragon starts getting shot by random archers and like all of the artillery of the dwarves and all this, right? And he starts losing control of his dragon just because it's getting hurt so much. And oh no! So eventually the dragon just goes and it's like, all right, fine, I'm gonna just go attack the dwarves, and that's a big no-no because he basically just flies straight into a firing line of artillery.
So like, what did this artillery consist of?
Imagine just like, have you ever seen Dragonheart?
No, I've not.
Okay. Well, it's just a bunch of ballistas, basically, like just big ass ballistas that are just like shooting the wings and just like bringing them down to the ground, right? So it just gets shot by like 5 or 6 of these things immediately and just gets pelted into the side of a tower where the tower, like Imlogic falls off his dragon and the tower actually collapses on top of his dragon.
So he dead.
Not quite, actually. The dragon's still alive, but it's out of commission at the moment.
Dude, how much like beating can a dragon take?
This dragon's weirdly tanky, dude. I'm not gonna lie. For some reason, it like survives 3 near-death experiences throughout this saga.
Really?
But, yeah.
And this is number 1.
This is number 1. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Number 1. Maybe it really only takes 1 near-death experience, and then it deals with its actual death. Spoiler alert. But we'll get to that in the future. So. This dragon just gets blasted to the ground. There's a bunch of rubble on top of it. Imlogic gets up and he's just surrounded by dwarfs. And basically there's just a big circle just surrounding him. And Morgrim walks up to the front and is basically just like, it's kind of like Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like there's a throwdown now. It's like, now you and me are going to settle this once and for all.
Oh, damn.
Like this is no longer his good friend Imlogic, right? This is the leader of the Elgi scum. And we're going to sell this.
Oh, no. You hate to see it. You hate to see it when 2 buddies have to clash.
I was pretty saddened reading this because the whole time Morgrim is actually completely exhausted because, again, he just took over an entire city, right? Like God knows how many elves he just fought and killed.
Mm-hmm.
And like prestigious generals too, right? And Imlogic is relatively fresh, despite just falling off his dragon. But like battle-wise, he's fairly fresh, and he doesn't want to fight. He's like, bro, will you just listen to me and just like listen to reason? He's like, I don't want to listen to any more of your. He's basically just like dry heaving with exhaust and going, I don't want to listen to any more Elgi lies. And they start just fighting, duking it out. But Imlogic is basically just defending. While Morgrim is just berserker mode, swinging like a lunatic.
Yeah, that was really cool scene.
It's pretty badass, but you know, what do
they wield? What's their weapons?
I think Imlogic wields a greatsword, and you know, Morgrim's got that magic axe that I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
This guy's big ass axe. Is it glowing? Does that be kind of cool?
Not. I said 1 foresight per episode, damn it. So, what happens is eventually the mistress character, Leandra, gets to where the conflict is taking place. You just see basically like a mosh pit of dwarfs, and it's like, what the hell? So she makes her way there. The dwarfs aren't actually attacking her because they're just watching this gladiatorial fight, basically, this combat of champions. And so they're duking it out, good old Morgrim and Imlogic, and eventually Imlogic's dragon starts to move, and it gets out of the rubble, right? Just very groggily, and that is exactly when Morgrim's axe starts to glow with enchantments because it has that thing of being like the Dragon Slayer axe. So a dragon has to actually be present for it to be activated with the old magic.
Mm-hmm.
But the second this happens, like they clash sword and axe, and that magical sword that Imlogic has, it gets cleaved through like butter and just snaps in half. And
oh no,
Morgrim brings down his axe and just cuts down Imlogic right there.
Damn.
I was like, okay, damn. Just
the only good elf is gone.
Yep. And Leandra goes and weeps over his body and basically yells at Morgrim like, you should have listened to him. He only ever wanted to help you and help you understand what was truly taking place. This is not our doing, and it's like the the issues of Elgi are not our concern. But don't worry. He'll have a place in the pantheon of our ancestors and our legends and stories. So even though he just cut down his friend, he still is like, he'll have a place in the legends. Don't you worry. We have that much respect for him.
Damn, that's kind of cold. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a really tragic scene.
It is really tragic.
Yeah, it was brutal to read on just all fronts. And Imladric's dragon is just, just immediately feels the bond just severed and just goes into utter melancholy, just goes into pure depression.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, is his son gonna take over his dragon? Is that where we're going with this?
Listen.
What?
Listen.
What?
You get one, I said, damn it.
I think you forget that I'm a dungeon master in D&D. So these when you're telling me these stories, it just lines up, right?
You're just hitting all of the cliches in one episode. That's a fair assessment. Yeah, exactly. It's a Star Wars narrative. It's very quickly coming together.
Yeah, like the typical stuff. See my father die. I'm gonna take over his dragon.
Dragons won't accept me. You know?
I'm gonna vow for revenge on his best friend, his best dwarf friend.
Mm-hmm. That was actually one thing too, is that at the time before this whole conflict took place, it was this thing of the dragons are now becoming a part of the war, and all the dragon tamers are they understand it's dragons aren't something for us to just use as pets. They're not just weapons. They're noble beasts that are before us, right? They understand the world in a way that we never can, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the dragon tamers are pretty they're fine with them logically in the front lines, but the idea of them being a force for war is this isn't really our place. This isn't our duty. This is not the dragon's duty.
Are these dragons gonna they're basically this Phoenix King is gonna be listen, we're just gonna use these as war animals, and then eventually these tamers and be no, or something's gonna happen where they're not gonna have dragons anymore.
Something will happen in the future, but it's a lot worse than what you just said. It's so much worse than you can. I don't think it's. Yeah.
I just have a feeling maybe only a select few elves will eventually have dragons in the future.
Oh, it's so much worse than that. So much worse. Yeah, it's bad what happens
to the dragons.
Well,
poor dragons.
That'll be next episode. Don't you worry. We'll cover the dragon issue in the next episode.
Oh no.
But Imladric's dragon, basically Morgrim looks at Leandra and is take his body back to his family and leave this place on this dragon. We won't cut you down. With enough respect out of Imladric, we'll allow you to leave and bring his body back to his family.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happens. The dragon, in its exhaustion and melancholy, go back to Imladric's family so that they can mourn him and give him a proper burial. Good old Kakarot is oh my god, my lord and master.
What's Kakarot's name again? I keep saying that. I'm gonna think of Dragon Ball.
Caradryel.
That's what it is. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Caradryel.
Mr. Drill.
Mr. Drill. Yeah, Mr. Bob the Builder. Anyways. And yeah, that's I think that's where I'm going to leave it off, honestly. That's pretty much part 2 summarized, very abridged, very quickly abridged, but that's what I mean, right? All these characters go through a lot of tragedy and a lot of transformation, and it's the personal effect that transforms the actual battle.
Why are you going to leave me on a cliffhanger like that? What the heck?
Well, not a lot happens in the second book. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
We got another one to go through. Don't worry. That's where the big stuff. I mean, the Phoenix King's brother just died, but
Yeah, so now it's going to be intense for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
If he even cares about his brother, that's the thing.
Also, well, that's actually, it's a fair point. Yeah, it's this guy, he sent him out there. It's I didn't want to go out there. Whatever happened to, you'll win the war on your own? It's it's taking longer than expected. Go and deal with it.
I love this character.
I cannot. Let me just say, Anyways, I think we all know what's going to happen within the next episode to this guy. We all know what's going to happen to good old Phoenix King Joe Schmo here.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The next
he wins the battle gloriously and becomes the hero of Warhammer.
Dude, I would quit Warhammer if that were the case. If I had to tolerate this guy for another book, good God. He's also
spoilers.
He's in the Sundering too, and he's a total like. Even in the Sundering, like he's a kid and he's a total little pissant. And he only evolves.
He's a kid during the Sundering.
Yeah, he's a little kid during the Sundering talking to Imric. And he's like, I will be the Phoenix King one day and I will rule graciously. And he's like shit talking dragons who like, basically throw him on his ass.
That's so funny, actually.
It's so good. I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. Just, he's just a bad apple.
Does he get a model? Please tell me he has a model on tabletop.
No, this guy is old, right? Like this takes place long before like the modern narrative.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about like Age of Sigmar. I'm talking about like old Warhammer fantasy.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, we're not even close to modern day Warhammer fantasy. We're like 1,000 years away.
Oh man, we got a lot of episodes to go through.
We got a lot just to get to the modern day narrative.
Oh dang! Okay, that's exciting.
I never let you know that. Actually, a little bit of foreshadowing for you of how much.
Dude, I didn't even know how far off we were. Damn.
Yeah, we're going prehistoric, basically.
Okay. This is awesome.
Yeah. There's one more thing I should just throw in. There's been a character who's been appearing a fair bit on the Dwarven front of things. This guy is it's a dwarf by the name of Drogor, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude basically is like the last surviving member of an expedition. Basically, he says like when he was out there, his faction got destroyed by lizard men. But he's been in the background slowly like just being there in and out, right? And he was one of the voices that kind of convinced Snorri like we should go to war. So he was there like whispering in his ear the whole time.
Oh, he's like a little devious guy then.
He's a little devious, sort of mysterious sort of character. I'm just throwing that out there because he'll appear in the next episode. You'll figure out what his shtick is. I'm just throwing him in there. Yeah, I didn't mention him last time because he's actually, it's weird because he appears sort of consistently, but he doesn't leave enough of an impact until like well through halfway through the narrative. So he slowly builds momentum as a character.
I like it. Sounds like an interesting guy.
Yeah, we'll get to that next time. Anyways, I think that's basically where I'm going to leave us. Do you have any questions regarding all of this? I know I kind of speed run through this because there's just a lot of narrative in a short time.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, yeah, sounds like a pretty good episode. I'm excited for the next one. The next one sounds like a long one, so I'm ready.
Will it be a long one? Yeah, I guess so, actually, now that I think about it. All right. Well, in that case, I will take us home then. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As always, please do consider leaving a comment, leaving a like, becoming a sub. It all helps just to know how the channel is doing. Feel free to actually me if I left anything out. Feel free to let me know if there's anything you need me to cover in further detail in the future that I might have forgotten to put in here, or anything that just seems a pivotal detail. But until then, I wish you all the very best. Take care.
Take care.